Welcome back to Taiwan Outlook. Our guest today is Dr.童振源, Vice Chairperson of the Mainland Affairs Council. Dr. Tong, we've been talking about the situation in Hong Kong socially, politically, and economically. You said that as a result of one country, two systems model, Hong Kong has already lost its so-called judicial independence. How about the media freedom?
Well, Hong Kong is a free port, and it should be without any limitation in the flow of information, capital, and labor, and many other issues. So I think people are also quite concerned about the situation in Hong Kong. Particularly the freedom of speech and freedom of press are quite independent ingredient for the international financial center. So people are quite concerned about the situation in Hong Kong, particularly after 1997. But according to our materials collected by the Mainland Affairs Council, I think the Chinese government tried to intervene to Hong Kong's political development and also press freedom after 1997. At least 175 cases violation against Chinese so-called one country, two system pledge. After 1997, the Chinese government utilized a lot of tactics trying to control the freedom of the press in Hong Kong. Let me give some situation for you. You know, the Chinese government tried to pressure the host of the TV program or radio programs for current affairs program by resigning his post or her post. And also the Chinese government tried to purchase the shares of the media in Hong Kong by their state-owned enterprises in China. And even the Chinese government tried to give some or entitle some official position to the owners of medias in Hong Kong. And also the Chinese government also tried to boycott some TV programs by prohibiting their state-owned enterprises to place their advertisements in these programs. So generally speaking, I think the Hong Kong's media has been more controlled compared to 1997, prior to 1997.
Are this implicit or explicit control by Beijing?
Yes, I think the Hong Kong government also tried to cooperate with Beijing government to suppress the freedom of the press in Hong Kong. You know, according to a survey by the Hong Kong Journalists Association this April, it shows that around 58.5% of the journalists indicate that the freedom of the press has been much worse than the situation prior to the 1997. Particularly, 85.5% of people indicate that Hong Kong's media has been more self-censorship than the period before 1997. Particularly when it reporting the negative development in China, this will become more obvious. The Chinese government would like to impose pressure or even exert direct control to influence the media reports in Hong Kong. I think this is a very serious situation in Hong Kong. And this might undermine the prospect for Hong Kong to be an international financial center in the future.
Another issue that people have paid attention to regarding the situation in Hong Kong is the so-called freedom of religion. And as we know that last weekend, there are some number of Chinese people who are allegedly so-called Falun Gong members, and they were denied to get into Hong Kong. They were even detained by the Hong Kong authorities. How do you see the situation now in Hong Kong in terms of the religious freedom?
You know, as government officials, we are quite angry, and we will launch a very serious protest against Hong Kong's government about this kind of situation, because all these people are very benign people, are very good people, and common people in Taiwan. They also enter Hong Kong with valid visa, but without any justified reason, the Hong Kong custom detain these people and even interrogate all these people. This is very bad and very inhumane to treat these people in this way. And our representative office in Hong Kong is called Chinese Travel Agency. These people, our officials cannot get into the custom areas. So our official cannot even to help these people by providing any assistance or even find the legal assistance to these people. So we feel very, very bad about this kind of situation. I think this kind of situation will not happen before 1997.
So why did they do that? I mean, Hong Kong authorities detaining our people and then try to put them in custody.
Yeah, we received some information from Hong Kong. According to our information, the Hong Kong government and Hong Kong customs is instructed that any alleged people practicing Falun Gong should not be allowed to get into Hong Kong between June 26th and July 1st. So you know that Hu Jintao, Chinese president, would get into Hong Kong and celebrate and stay there for 2 days between June 28th and July 1st. So during that period, the Hong Kong government would like to safeguard the Hu Jintao's security in Hong Kong. So we're just wondering if one day Hu Jintao stayed in Hong Kong, then people in Hong Kong would not have any human rights, would not have any freedom of speech, would not have any freedom of the press.
Are now those people being allowed to go into Hong Kong now, or are they now return back to Taiwan already?
I think they returned back to Taiwan already because they want to just express their opinions in Hong Kong and would like to provide some different perspective to so-called celebrate the situation in Hong Kong. But as a matter of fact, we should say the Hong Kong government should not celebrate the so-called one country, two system. Instead, they should celebrate one country, one system experience over the last decade. Hong Kong's economy has been integrated into Chinese economy tremendously, and also the Hong Kong economy has been dependent on Chinese economic assistance. And then, judicial independence and also freedom of the press has been undermined. And the political autonomy has been controlled, and even the democratization prospect has been very dimmer. So you can see all this kind of situation shows that the Chinese pledge to the Hong Kong's people, the so-called the high degree of autonomy for Hong Kong's people, granted by the Beijing government, has been a liar. And Hong Kong's people rule Hong Kong and has been also a liar over the last decade. And in the future, we don't see any change in prospect to change the Chinese intervention into Hong Kong's government's political situation or social development and the freedom of society.
Yeah, as we know that the so-called one country, two systems model was first initiated to woo the people in Taiwan. In other words, that model was designed for Taiwan, and then it was applied to Hong Kong first. How do the Taiwanese people see the so-called Hong Kong model or the one country, two systems model, after 10 years?
Whether one country, two system scheme is successful or not has nothing to do with Taiwan at all, because Hong Kong's people has no choice. One country, two system is a destiny for Hong Kong's people without options. But the Republic of China on Taiwan is an independent country. So people in Taiwan has their right to choose their future through democratic system, through democratic process. So this is quite different. Even the experience in Hong Kong is quite successful, but still, Taiwan's situation is nothing to do with Hong Kong's experience. This is the first thing we need to notice. The second thing is that Taiwan's people has not any intention to accept this kind of proposition by the Chinese government. Over the last 18 years, our council has commissioned a lot of opinion polls conducted by many independent think tanks or research institutions in Taiwan. It shows that consistently more than 70% and even higher than 80% of people in Taiwan reject the proposition proposed by the Chinese government, the so-called one country, two system similar formula to Taiwan. That is because if we accept this kind of formula, then we will give up the independent sovereignty stay in Taiwan, and which will, along with democratic system and the values which we have instituted over the last decade, last 2 decades. So people in Taiwan will not agree to accept this kind of proposition proposed by the Chinese government.
But as we know that China has insisted on the so-called one country, two system model as the formula for resolving the issue in the Taiwan Strait. Do you see, as a vice chairperson of the Mainland Affairs Council, do you see any shift or modification of China's position, for the past 10 years?
Well, the model has been first initiated by Deng Xiaoping, the former paramount leader of China. But afterwards, Jiang Zemin and even Zhao Ziyang, Hu Jintao, and currently Hu Jintao, they are not to change this kind of proposition made by Deng Xiaoping, because their power foundation is not quite solid. So they are not to change this kind of proposition made by Deng Xiaoping. So currently they would like to uphold the existing approach toward Taiwan, and then gradually to accommodate the new situation in Taiwan. But still, there is no solution for them to woo Taiwan to unify with China in the short run. So this is not a very emergent issue for the Chinese government to deal with. But from another perspective, Taiwan also proposed a coexistence and prosperity model to China. That is so-called European integration experience. Because we will not accept the so-called one country two system formula in which the Chinese government or the Beijing government is a central government and Taiwan's government is only a local government. We cannot accept this kind of arrangement at this moment. So Taiwan's government, President Chen, proposed that we will not rule out any possibility to establish any forms in any relations with China, as long as people in Taiwan agree, as long as there's a consent of the people in Taiwan. So we are quite flexible. But the Chinese government need to persuade people in Taiwan to accept their proposition. But so far, as I mentioned to you, more than 70% of people in Taiwan would not accept this kind of proposition. So President Chen mentioned that no single political leaders or political party can dictate the future of Taiwan. And he proposed another alternative to the Chinese government, that is European Union model. In this kind of process, the integration of economy, trade, and culture should constitute as the first step. Then gradually this will build mutual confidence and faith, and particularly will create common interest for both sides. And then in the long run, we hope this kind of process can lead to a long-run solution to establish a new framework of permanent peace and the political integration between Taiwan and China.
But in a nutshell, the so-called EU model is arrangement among sovereign states, right? So when we propose the EU model to China, I think China will, of course, say no because Taiwan is a local government, and so they, insist on one country, two system model. How can we narrow the differences between the two sides?
Well, this is a long-run solution, and in the interim, we also propose to establish a framework of interaction for peace and stability across the Taiwan's trade. That means during the process, we hope we can continue to engage with each other in promoting cooperation on functional issue areas, including economic exchanges and legal exchanges and societal exchanges, so that through this kind of process we can narrow down this kind of gap between economic disparity, social disparity, and even political disparity, so that through this kind of process we can establish stable relations in the long run. We hope this kind of negotiation, cooperation, and even mutual confidence and interest can lead to a long-run solution. So it might be a 30 years or 50 years a solution, not a short-run solution. In the long run, the Chinese government might be a democratic system. The Chinese economy might be a very advanced economy in Asia. And also the Chinese society might be a very free society, enjoy significant liberty in China. At this time, the gap has been diminished, and then people in Taiwan might be more receptive to accept this kind of proposition by China. So even at the time, the European Union model might be not the most acceptable model for both sides. Maybe both sides would like to unify to some degree. So we can be very open as long as people here agree any proposition to China proposed by the Chinese government. So the sole task for the Chinese government is to pursue people in Taiwan through a very civilized way, instead of military threat and a diplomatic aspiration against Taiwan.
Do you think that Beijing is changing its policy towards Taiwan?
So far, we don't see any prospect.
When we come back, we'll talk about the cross-strait relationship furthermore. And because in the past, Hong Kong has been a very important, stepping stone or transitional place for the interaction between Taiwan and China, even on economic issues. But as the economic integration between Taiwan and China is going wider and deeper, the role of Hong Kong seems to be diminishing. So we will talk about the future relationship between Taiwan and China and the future for Hong Kong as well.
Okay.
And so let's take a short break. We'll be back in a few moments.